So my name is Tshifhiwa Kodisang. I think that's important. That's very much important. So when I was told that, the idea is to talk about the master plan. So last week I went to visit this old man. The old man is a farmer. So we went to the farm and we were walking around the farm. As we were walking, one of my friends called me and asked me, "Where are you?" I said, "No, I'm walking around in the farm." Of course, my friend was very excited because when my friend, head of the farm, thought about the fruits and says, for sure you will bring a lot of things from the farm. So I said to my friend, "No, there is nothing." And says, "So why are you spending time in the farm if there is nothing?" I said, "We are walking around just looking at the flowers." It didn't make sense to my friend. And I said, "No, later on we will discuss this." Because this invitation was very important. If I didn't honor this invitation from the farmer, I would have committed a serious offense of just walking around and the farmer, and I have to appreciate these flowers. And you are sitting here, you are also thinking, it's a bit strange. Why flowers from the fruit, from the trees, not the fruits? Because to the farmer, the master plan starts with the flowers. You get what I'm saying? To the farmer, it's not about the fruits. It's about the flowers. And it's how much he takes care or he invests in the flowers that fulfills more than the fruits. So the harvest has already started just with flowers. The fulfillment has already started just with flowers. Does it make sense? So the master plan is not on the harvest. It has started long time ago to the farmer. That's why the farmer can proudly invite somebody to say, "Come to my farm. Come, let's walk in my..." And we spent 3 hours walking around the farm, standing. Sometimes you stand with this one tree and you are just being told about these flowers and what they are doing. And sometimes you even go to the leaves. And psychologically, that was very powerful. I actually, later on, I was sitting alone and I was thinking, wow, what a way to prepare me for this presentation. Because everywhere I walk, I always have my books. So I had my book somewhere and I then started saying, this is actually my presentation. Because psychologically, why we are so wounded, psychologically, why we are so helpless, we are always chasing the master plan in the destination. Does it make sense? Psychologically, why we feel like I have failed, God has failed me, where is God? It's because we cannot recognize that the master plan has already started to evolve. You are the only one who has been left behind. Does it make sense? So this was something that I looked back. It actually sort of even changed my life. That event of just walking in the farm and looking at these flowers, I just came back and I just asked myself, so why are you running? Because your flowers are already there. You are just the only one who is not taking care of your flowers. Everything is there, for this farmer. The farmer was fully aware that there is August and it can become very windy. And yes, some of the flowers could fall out, but he appreciated that weekend when the flowers were still there. He's not worried about the wind. Does it make sense? The wind will come, but last weekend, it was a moment to appreciate the flowers that are there. Prof. Ramkumba talked about depression earlier. And, you know, people always talk about depression. Yes, there are times where depression is biological. Their life, okay, sorry. So I have to also be trained how to talk to this thing. Psychologically, when we talk about depression, for me, at some stage, and in most cases, we have created depression because we don't appreciate the flowers. We are waiting for the fruits. But we also have an image how these fruits must come out. And even when the fruits will be there, we will miss so much because we didn't have those moments with the flowers. Does it make sense? And that's, for me, it's a sad thing because I can imagine, I can understand how many master plans you wrote and rewrote, how many master plans you prayed about to God, and the God or whosoever need to support you, they all came up to support you, and the master plan evolved, but you missed it. And you missed it because when the flowers started, you didn't appreciate them. You know, human process, our lives, when I talk about human process, I'm talking about our lives, our day-to-day lives. It's not mechanical. The problem we make as human beings, we have sort of changed ourselves to be mechanical, and we don't enjoy processes like what the farmer has done. When the flowers are out, we are waiting. It's this mechanical way. You have got a sort of a machine where you press that by end of today, I want this machine to have produced 50 bottles of water. How will this happen? You are not part of it. And most of the time, the emptiness sort of really emerge, because if you think about that master plan, it's not even your master plan. And you know, the idea that our life will be very structured, our life will be planned the way we plan it, in this mechanical way, that things have to happen in this way, it's actually creating a sense of woundedness that I can't even comprehend as a psychologist when I see how women and human beings are so wounded. But the main thing that sort of wound them is this idea. I even wrote somewhere, we have got a very skewed idea of the master plan. When we get to that, we will talk about that. It's important for me when we are talking about the master plan. I thought, why do we get so hurt? Why do we become so miserable, especially as women? Why do we experience this mental breakdown? And a lot of times in my work, women also says, but where is God? And sometimes they said, you know, I have prayed, I have fasted about this. Lately, I always say to people, you know, don't put a prayer list. Just ask God to open your eyes to see what you are not seeing. Do you get what I'm saying? Like a farmer, what he sees is the flowers. And to my friend, the flowers didn't matter. My friend wanted fruits. So my friend will keep on praying for God to provide the fruits. But God says, from the fruits, you must start with the flowers and appreciate the fruits that I have given to you. Does it make sense? One of the things about the master plan, it must not fit like a puzzle. We have got this idea that if the master plan is there and God is there, it must fit like a puzzle. Then we have really reduced our life to some sort of objects or to these mechanical processes, and that is quite problematic. And I'm really saying all this because I know how it hits Christians, women, because when it has to fit like a puzzle, it's because God is there. And if it doesn't fit like a puzzle, then God is not there. Then we have really complicated our life because we do not appreciate the humanness and the human processes, and that in master plan has to evolve not only with the good times or with the products and the fruits. Does it make sense? I want to sort of assure you the master plan is there and it's always there. But the challenge, there is always this internal and external pressure that also sometimes makes us to miss the master plan. The pressure for things to be perfect or the pressure for things to look in that particular way. And in that, we miss the master plan. We are so focused on other things, which those things are not the master plan. I wrote here that we all have that syndrome. I'm not sure what psychologists will call it, but possibly they've got a name. That things must fit like a puzzle or must be of a particular class or standard. And unfortunately with that, we constantly judge and critique ourselves. And when we do that, then the master plan is never good enough for me. Does it make sense? So the master plan for your master plan is there, but due to the syndrome, you never appreciate your master plan. You want to fit into the pressures, and that psychologically makes us very helpless and unhappy and sad and. That's why I always say there is a master plan, and the idea that when you pray to God, don't put request anymore. Pray and ask for God to open your eyes to see the things you are not seeing. To see the things in your master plan that you haven't appreciated, because then you are not nurturing them and you are looking. You know, there is something that is very discouraging or very frustrating when you are looking for your keys and you can't find them, only to realize they are just there in front of you. Or the things you are finding, you know, in my handbag, there is always a lot of papers. Then I'm looking for the key, and the key is inside the envelope that I don't even need. And I wonder, why did I kept this envelope? You get what I'm saying? So we are very tired because we are constantly looking for the master plan. But the master plan is there. Possibly, you know, you might be saying to me, we can hear you guys, you know, Dr. Kodisang, you are talking. So where is this master plan? Who has this master plan? And you can hear that I'm saying your master plan is there. Your master plan. Your master plan is there with you. It has been there with you for so long. The challenge is that you are disconnected to your master plan. Do you get what I'm saying? You are disconnected to your master plan. And unfortunately, if you are disconnected to your master plan, psychologically, you will start looking for other things that won't even satisfy you. You know, there are people who have got things that they thought this was my master plan, even qualifications, and they said this qualification does not talk to me. It's not fulfilling because that was not your master plan. We have got people today who will tell you, I've got a master's degree, but I'm not using this master's degree. It's not working for me because that was not that person's master plan. And once that person finds the master plan, they will tell you, I am so happy. I do this work without any struggle. Even when I'm struggling, I know this is my master plan. So your master plan is there with you. God has given it to you. The challenge is that you are disconnected to your master plan. I've already said, I have heard it so many times where people come and say, you know, I don't even know what to say to God anymore because I'm very angry. God has never answered my prayers. I even ask people to bring the list of those prayer requests. And it will be this master plan and people fasting. And they said, God has never responded. It's amazing when you say to somebody, just ask God to help you see the things you don't see. Most people will say, you know, I never realized. Like people will say, I need money. I need God to bless me with the money. But they have got an idea how they must make this money, which is not part of their master plan. But once they see things they need to see, they will make money in a different way. Do you get what I'm saying? Because we always think, you know, we must make money in the same way. Do you get what I'm saying? I always tell people that when I completed my degree and I'm a qualified psychologist, I always, you know, my friends knew that I used to say, you know, having a private practice, you run around. This idea of running around does not work for me. That I must move from one hospital to the other. And people will say, come, let's work together. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. Some people will even say, possibly you have got a lot of money. I will say, I don't have money. But the idea of running around, it's not working for me. I can't do that. And in some way, it's like I knew what I needed to do. And you know, if I have to tell you this master plan, so I was done with my PhD and I couldn't really understand that now what am I going to do with my life? I think there will be a problem if I'm just, you know, going to work and coming back. I need to do something. And a lot of people say, come, let's work together. I said, no, good friends of mine. And one Saturday morning, I thought of this person when I was doing M2, she was doing M1. And possibly the last time I spoke to her, it was like 6 years ago. But I was standing in my kitchen, I still remember very well. And I just thought of her. Most of you know, I'm not even on Facebook. And when I was standing there, I thought the only way to find her, she would possibly be on Facebook. And I activated my account for that day. I found her. I sent her a message to say, hi, where are you? I need your numbers. These are my numbers. It was on a Saturday. On Monday, she called me in the afternoon. She says, do you know how excited I was when I got your number? I hope you are really wanting to come and work with me. Come, let's work together. I want to work with you. I know you. We can do so much together. And I said, let's make an appointment. I went. We spoke what she's doing and all that. And I said, I think this I can do. And there were a lot of things that she was doing that I had lost contact with. I agreed that she can retrain me. She retrained me, and that has been my life. This was part of my master plan. I waited for it. I missed a lot of money that I could have made. Where I work, I might not be making money, maybe like my colleagues who work in a hospital. but I'm very comfortable, and my clients are very comfortable, and all of us are very comfortable. So the challenge is that we want to live other people's master plan because of what it provides. And we forget about what matters to us. What do you need? And that's important because it links to what I wrote here. At some time, you need to be very quiet. You need to be very quiet. I took some time. I was struggling, but I needed to listen to myself to say, what am I struggling with and what do I need? In another part of this presentation, sometimes when we are struggling, when we are overwhelmed, when we are unsettled, we tend to do more things, hoping things will be better. But in actual fact, we need to just sit still and be quiet. We don't do that. You know, the reason women are so vulnerable, we run around different churches looking for this peace that is within you. Somebody will tell you, if you go and so lay hands to you, you will find it. You do more things, but you haven't sat down to understand, where is my master plan? What is bothering me? That space of being quiet and you listen to yourself. The master plan will never evolve if you remain this busy. You are constantly on the run. I'm not saying you must be lazy, but I'm saying give time for yourself and connect to yourself and your own journey and allow your journey to talk to you. Look at the flowers that you have. Don't run around saying, I need fruits. Something I learned when I was with the farmer, he told me that, do you see these flowers? When I now have these flowers, even though my idea, that was my idea, that if I have all these flowers, I will possibly water my tree every day so that the fruits will become bigger. He told me, you don't do that. When the flowers are there, they are very sensitive on what you give to your tree. So he said to me, I don't water at this stage of where my trees are with the flowers. They are not supposed to be watered every day, because then it will confuse the tree. Secondly, he also said, I don't just put any type of fertilizers. Sometimes you confuse your master plans by things you take, by the people you choose to be with in your life, hoping they will make your life better, and they take you back. Do you get what I'm saying? Sometimes you are thinking, you are so focused on the harvest, not allowing your own process and your master plan to unfold. You are thinking about shortcuts to the day of harvest instead of just allowing your flowers to grow. Instead of just allowing your tree to manage the process. I want to tell you one of the things that it's really frustrating our master plan. The other day, I think I was talking to Pastor Joyce that at the moment with this pandemic, I apologize if I'm generalizing, but Christians are struggling to support each other emotionally. And one of the reasons is because we don't want to live the real life. You know, I don't even know how to describe it. We don't want to be human. this week I said to this person, she couldn't believe what I'm saying. She just said, what you are saying is just too rough, too early in the morning. I said to him, you know, parents, sometimes when they struggle emotionally, and this sort of applies to different Christianity or different faith-based and all that, where your daughter comes to you, Boquin, and say, and she's here, she says, Ma, it was bad at school today. I failed my test. I've done everything. I failed my maths test and I've studied so hard. And you can see her tears. And you just say, don't worry, just pray to God. If she does that, you must just WhatsApp me. And that's why I'm saying Christians are failing to support each other. Because what are you doing? What are you doing there? And I'm not saying God is not there. I'm not saying faith is not important. But what does this person need at that particular time? Needs an acknowledgement of what she is feeling. And that's what I'm talking about. Even in our plans, one of the reasons that our plans sort of get frustrated or we abandon our plans is because we don't want to appreciate moments of vulnerabilities, moments where we are human, moments when it's difficult. Your idea of your plan, that your plan will just be this mechanical and you will just cruise, it's not real. Remember, in this master plan, it's not about what you will achieve, but how would you have been shaped and trained. It's not about what the idea you have. You know, the farmer always teaches me a lot of things and says to me, some of the trees will tell me a story that at some time, this tree of mine, we were struggling because there was drought and we didn't have enough water. But this specific one, I will always pour 3 buckets of water to ensure that it can survive. And now when he sees the flowers, he really have the vivid pictures of that tree, the time of drought, and that combined with the flowers, it's fulfilling. Do you get what I'm saying? Sometimes we are quite miserable because the journey is not holistic. We choose a journey that is very skewed. It's all about how I manage to make it. And in this time, in times such as this, of COVID, of struggles, that's why we are even more hopeless and helpless. And we ask ourselves, where is God? Because we are also not taking time to acknowledge how we feel in this moment and to support each other as human beings, but to be able to step into our faith. So it's important to allow yourself to be human, not to be a spiritual being. Because you are not just spiritual, you are a spiritual being. So if your focus is only on the spiritual and you miss the being, then you are creating problems for yourself. So I'm trying to comfort you that experiences in the journey are part of the master plan. Does it make sense? And these experiences, I'm not talking about the experiences of joy. I'm also talking about the experiences when you wake up and you says, what's gonna happen today? I'm also talking about the experiences where maybe you are like Hannah, that you will just wake up and weep. You allow yourself to weep, and maybe even phone a friend to say, weep with me. I want to even, this morning I was thinking about some weeks ago. I had this experience, so I had gone to this particular place. And where I have gone, things really didn't turn out the way I had anticipated. And I was quite hurt. I want to be very honest with you. When you look at me, and if there were pictures of that day, you wouldn't believe it's me. I had showered. I had put on lotion. But the way I was crying, along the way I stopped and I looked at myself, and it was bad. You know, and I cried for 2 days. Even people around me, they couldn't understand. They were even frustrated, and they just wanted to say, can you stop crying? And I couldn't take that very well. It just made me to cry more. You know, this morning I was thinking that the only time I cried like that was when my mother passed away. I don't even imagine that I had ever cried like that. But I was looking where I am now to say, shoo, how much I needed that experience. Because I can tell you, it really made me to grow. And the joy I have after those 2 days of crying, it sort of closed wounds of years and years that maybe even myself, I pretended that they were closed. You know, I stopped somewhere last week. I was talking to a friend who called me, and I was driving and I was crying, and says, how will you manage to drive to go where you are going? I said, driving doesn't need my tears. I'm just driving and I have to cry. So we were talking about it and we were now laughing. It sounds very dramatic. You might not believe it. But it really helped me. And I didn't need any other solution except my tears. That's all. My tears have healed me from the wounds that I also thought were inflicted, but maybe I inflicted them myself. In those tears, I also found, what do I need and what do I want to live for? What do I want to take out of this? And that was part of the master plan. But I didn't even imagine it to be like that. But I allowed myself to be in that uncomfortable spaces. When I was trained as a psychologist, one of my trainers says the problem with the women, they can't even heal their wounds, because even when they come for therapy, when they want to cry, they immediately think about their makeup. You get what I'm saying? You know how much joy when you are crying and just wiping those tears. You know how much healing, and you are not worried about the makeup. You are just letting your heart to pour out. I'm not saying you must cry if you don't want. You know, when I started working, I used to proud myself that part of my grocery, it's always tissues than the food. For other people, of course, not for myself. So what am I saying? The challenge we have is that our psychologically, our master plan is skewed. It's very selective. It's all about the happy moments. You know, if I'm talking about my master plan, I will be thinking about, you know, when I have this, when I have that, and we forget the journey and the process. We forget that this journey, you will get into fire. The Bible talks about when you get into the fire or the lions, I will be with you. So that's part of the master plan. We also misunderstand the implementation of the master plan. You know, if you have got an idea that you want to bake a cake, but you don't understand how to bake a cake, you have got a lot of problems. Even when the ingredients are there, because the implementation will not bring out the cake. Also, this selective, and this is a challenge for Christians because we have got selective incorporation of what must happen in my master plan. You know, I'm so and so why must I suffer? The question is, who must you suffer? And it's not about suffering, it's about the training, it's about the preparation, it's about the shaping. A young man called me early in the morning last week and said, I'm sorry, I have disappointed you. I have failed. And I could hear he's miserable. And I said, do you know I'm so grateful that you have failed? It couldn't make sense to him. And I said, I will talk to you later. And I said, can you feel how painful is it for you? And yeah, I'm talking to somebody who from grade A, he hasn't failed. So he has failed for the first time in third year at university. And I said, I'm so grateful that you have failed. And he says, why? And I said to him, I'm not disappointed at all. Then he says to me, why? I was worried that you would be disappointed. I said, no, this year that you have failed and where you are, it's actually shaping you to be this person that you want to be. You were going to be very arrogant and you were not going to be prepared for life. You won't even appreciate this profession because you didn't struggle. The challenges we have today in real life, in our society, we have got all these people who do not appreciate where they are because they didn't appreciate the journey. They were not shaped. They just found themselves there, and do they really care? They also think they will be somewhere else. So what then? What must happen? What must we do as women of Tower of Grace or as women in South Africa today? What needs to happen? I want to encourage you to start really listening to your little girl. I always like this idea of your little girl because your little girl is very honest. Your little girl is not influenced by other voices. Yes, sometimes your little girl is silenced by the adult voices. But the little girl, if you really listen and be quiet, would really help you to connect to your master plan, undiluted. You also need to have more conversation with yourself. Conversations can happen without words. We like talking too much and the words. I know that clients always want to run away. If I keep quiet for like 20 minutes, people don't know what to do with themselves. They will ask you, so what's happening now, doctor? And I said, no, I just feel maybe let's be quiet. They can't bear it. People want to run away. They will tell me, you always make me very uncomfortable when you keep quiet. Why? What is it that we are running away from? Just think about it. What is it that you don't want to hear? Acknowledge your difficulties, but also acknowledge that you have got resources. When you acknowledge your difficulty, it's not moments when you are weak. It's just moments that you are acknowledging your humanness. And that can be actually a moment of strength. You know, people always sort of, but I always want to be strong. I must be seen as being strong. And I said, but are you really strong? Are you really strong? Are you being, human when you want to pretend you are strong? And then when did you get a salary for being strong? Nobody has ever got a salary for being strong. The salary you will get is antidepressant and medication. But when you allow yourself to be human and to tap into your strongness in that moment of vulnerability, you are actually helping yourself. I also think that we are not opening ourselves to deal with issues. I don't know. I always like museto. I don't know what is it called in English. Boruzani for environmental possibly knows the right English word. But for those, I think that's something that is everywhere. Museto. Museto. We can Google, but I will explain to you. So, in most places where you will find museto, it's actually areas which are uncultivated in the bush. And they've got those two thorns. And if you are running, I know this because, at home when we were young, you will go and you are trying to steal somebody's mangoes. And then the person arrives. Then you are running. Then you run on the side where there is museto. Museto will deal with you. Because two things will happen. Either it will entangle you, because when you put your feet, you must really be careful. Or the thorns will prick you. So either way, museto will either delay you by pricking you, or you will fall because you would have been entangled. And that's typically psychologically that what we do. When we don't want to deal with our issues, they actually entangle us and they prick us. As much as we think we are running very fast, we are going away. They are there with the issues with you. They just say, this one, I will deal with you. Your issues confront you all the time as you are running. Does it make sense? And that tree, I like it so much because psychologically for me, it really resembles what happens to our lives when we don't want to acknowledge our struggles, our challenges, and face them. And sometimes we are really exposing ourselves to moral injury. Moral injury is when we know what is right, what needs to be done, but we don't have resources. The reason we are struggling, Pastor Joyce was saying people are not praying. People are not coming to church. They know what needs to be done, but they don't have resources anymore. And it's not the challenges that were created now by COVID. It's the challenges we have been running away from. What did COVID do? COVID just exposed our issues. COVID have brought humanity to say, you are so fake, ne? Let me show you how real you are. Do you get what I'm saying? That's why you will hear that people are beating. Thank you. You are smart. That's why you will hear people are beating each other left and right, men and women. That's why you will hear people are drinking a lot now, and all because of COVID. COVID has shown us flames. And we are all saying, where were all these things? And we blame it on COVID. No, it has been there. We have been running away from them. So possibly you might think, is this psychologist confusing us? I want to tell you, spirituality is very important in times such as this. There is power in spirituality, but it's how we look at that power. I think spirituality has not been working as it should be because we are forgetting about the humanness and the human principle. We are actually using spirituality as a scapegoat to deal with the day-to-day realities of life. Whether it's parenting, whether it's a relationship, whether it's my own challenges about life, let's confront them. Let's not just throw all this to spirituality. Let's also ask ourselves, where am I in this? What do I need to do in order for me to allow my master plan to evolve? And to be honest with ourselves. To be honest and acknowledge our fears, our pain, our challenges, and be human about it. We can actually use the community, spiritual families to be a community of support. But we need to be very careful as we are supporting each other, we don't harm each other. That's something I want you to understand. We must not use spirituality to evade issues about humanity. You know, in times such as this, when somebody shares with you their difficulties, if you have nothing to say, if you are overwhelmed, it's okay to just say, I hear what you are going through. I wish I have better words to make it better. Instead of saying, you know, don't lose your faith. It's just because it's like you have lost your focus on God. Because you are judging that person who is already struggling. They won't even know how to pray again. You know, it's okay to say to somebody, I can understand nobody would want to go through what you are going through. I wouldn't. I wish I can take this away from you, but this is where you are. Also tell me how I can support you. I don't know what you might need. And sometimes it's okay to be quiet. I said earlier on, conversations do happen when there are no words. You don't need to escape. Let's connect to our humanities. But also let's celebrate each other and celebrate one another and celebrate our flowers. I think if you didn't get the message in the beginning, what I was saying is that let's celebrate the flowers. Let's not wait for the harvest. There is value in the moment of flowers. There is also value in the moment of watching your flowers when there is a wind like today, because that's nature. Nature knows why these flowers need to be shaped. You haven't done anything wrong. God is not punishing you. It's part of human processes that can reward you, that can shape you. It depends whether you still look at this and say, what's in it for me? God, show me what I don't want to see. You know, in the villages there used to be unko. I don't know what it's called in English. You know those big drums. Calabash pot. Yeah, Prof is here. A student must learn from Prof. When I grew up, Prof, you will be stolen here, Maui. And then my grandmother would say to me, you must go inside the pot and scream something. But at the same time, in villages, there would be a lot of superstitious things that they would say some old people in the same pot, you could find a tokorosh, you could find a snake. Do you know those things, ne? But you will be told if you go there, you will find your healing. But at the same time, you have also heard, you can also find other things that you don't want to see. So the question is, when you go into that pot, what do you want to see? Does it make sense? What are you going to the pot for? And are you going to the pot with what you have had, or you are going to the pot with what you carry within you that you want to find in that pot? Does it make sense? So you need to be very clear. Even with our master plan, sometimes our master plans are confused because we have got our master plans, but we carry other voices. We don't carry what our little girl says within us. I always have joy with my little girl. Just connecting to that little girl, and the little girl says, you know, we are going there, we're going to make it. It sounds very difficult and impossible. Just have joy in this moment where it doesn't seem practical. Just take one step at a time. Don't rush. Just be quiet. Also, to not rob you an opportunity for us to discuss, I want us to look at this. You know, I have been so fascinated by this Japanese concept called ikigai. And the Japanese talks about this ikigai. They said the reason to get up in the morning. And they always connect this concept of ikigai to happiness. They talk about fullness and fullness of life and happiness. But the key, they talk about what you get up in the morning for. And in one of these principles for the ikigai that I felt it really fit with the master plan, they talk about just start small. You know, our idea is that we want to start big and boom, we are gone. Doesn't work that way. You miss so much. The ikigai talks about starting small. I was reading another book and they said based on this principle, the Japanese were able to even create a road which, some engineers from other countries came and they said, it's impossible, you can't do this. But believing in this principle, they were able. They also talk about find your flow. As I summarize, you can hear the things I was talking about. It's because we don't want to start small and we don't know what's our flow. Secondly, they talk about discover your journey or your passion. At the end, this is what for me is quite beautiful. They say, look for joy in the little things. Look for joy in the little things. And for me, for the master plan to evolve and the master plan to be fulfilling is the joy you find in the little things in your journey of life. You need to find the joy in crying one day and the joy to celebrate because you bought yourself a chocolate, a PS. Or somebody bought you that PS for that matter. You won't say, but why didn't they bought me a jacket seeing that it's winter? Maybe you need to find joy that somebody woke up in the morning and called you and said, last night I didn't sleep. I was thinking about you the whole day. I even got 3 minutes so that I can call you. Don't look at, so you waited for 3 minutes to call me. That's who we are. That's who we are. You get, I'm a 3 minutes person to be called. How do you want to be called? It's 3 minutes, it's a call, so what? You get what I'm saying? So it's important to find joy in little things. It's important. That's why, for me, when I saw the farmer appreciating the flowers, it really changed me. There are a lot of things I could say, but I want us to engage. I think I've been quite fair to you. I want us to talk. I'm available to talk. Let's share, let's engage. Unless I've really scared you. Unless I've really... Okay. Let's hear from the floor. Butali, you are very quiet. Oh, Queen. So what must I do? Must I use the wipers or the spray? I must get protocol.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I just appreciate the presentation that you've just taken us through. I think you have just spoken to you've just awoken something inside of me, because seated here, when I look back, I see that the master plan, when you come to the Lord, you are told that, there is predestined things that are predestined for you, which for me it's a master plan according to God. So when we came here, we expect things to go in a certain way. You want everything to go according to the book, And I've started to appreciate the disruptions in life, because those disruptions kind of make me. When I look back, I see that, as you've spoken about the young girls that we have today, and so at times I try and want to speak to the younger queen, like the 14-year-old queen or the 15-year-old at that time, that things, you have a certain picture that, I'll go to school, I'll pass all my subjects, I'll pass record time, I'll get married, and I'll have kids, and we'll live happily ever after. That is a plan that you have in your head. But when you start to go through life, you realize that the master plan is not actually the way you have imagined. So I just want to say to us that what you have said, I think, is the truth that we need to hear as children of God, that sometimes there is a model that when we come to the Lord, we are told that things will go well. Now that you are a child of God, everything will go well. We're not told that things can go bad even when you are in the Lord. So it's important. I'm happy that my daughter is here. All my daughters are here. They can hear that, you are allowed to fail in life. We have so much expectations. When I grew up, when I came to the Lord in the village where I was growing up, there was so much. I don't know if you remember. You might remember some of the things how we grew up. I spent my youthful time in the same village with which Dr. Kodisang comes from. So there is a certain culture there that you are expected as a girl to do certain things a certain way. So when those things do not happen, you feel ashamed as a young girl, and sometimes you can lose your way. By the grace of God, you are able to stand up and go forward. But I've seen that even the church plays a role in putting those expectations that, we grew up in a time where if, for instance, as a young girl, you have a child before you get married, you get kauri, like you get discommunicated in the church, you must sit at the back, all those kind of things, and you are like, if it's not for the grace of God, some of us would not have made it, because you have violated the master plans of people, and you think that it's over with you. And today when you look back, you think, why did I do that? Like, and sometimes you miss some of the journey, the activities that you are saying, that we must first appreciate some of the things that you go through. You miss that because you are conscious of what will people say. You are dealing with people, you are dealing with society, you're dealing with a lot of things, and during that time you lose the steps that you are supposed to, the flowers that you are supposed to be appreciating along the way. So I do appreciate, although we're hearing this now, but when I look back, I just say, had it not been for the Lord, I don't think I would be here this afternoon. So I thank God, but I want to put a challenge to us as women that let's help our younger ones. Let's not put too much pressure on them. If they fail, we must allow them to fail, but also share our stories that, we also failed. We did not finish the degree on record time. We failed, so that they can also, be kind to themselves when they actually do fail, because failure can happen in life. So that's what I just wanted to say, that thank you for sharing that in the presence of us and our daughters, so that they can learn that there is a master plan. And sometimes maybe when I get a chance, one day I will share about the journey that I went through, so that you can see that it doesn't have to be perfect, but the master plan will, at the end of the day, unfold. Thank you.
I'm so happy that Bokwini shared this, because we have got, this idea of the master plan, and the society also tells us who sort of meet the standards of the master plan. And we do that also to our kids. I've got one of my friends that we don't understand, and we don't appreciate how, as human beings, due to the standards and the criteria, we actually sort of kill each other. We kill other people, little girls. I have no issue with principles, but I've got an issue with standards. And principles and standards are not the same, because in principles, it's not about how well you have done. It's how you are striving. Do you get what I'm saying? And I always have this joke because, you know, Bokwini used maybe this, you know, the principle in the church and all that. But I remember very well how me and my friend used to be laughed at because we are dark. And in August, it used to be worse because remember we didn't have this Nivea and what for dry skin and all that. You know, we didn't have those resources. So imagine in this August, it's times when I think about my journey and my struggles, because if you have put this, what we call cheap lotion of that time, even when you have washed, people can't see you would have washed. And I remember we were studying at UNISA doing distance learning, so we will be engaging with teachers. We were very young. People would laugh at us. To the extent people will take it as a joke. These ones, they won't get married. They are too dark and what. And I know that, you know, it depends. You know, we talk about it, but sometimes I process it. I realize how much maybe she was hurt. Because every time she has got an opportunity, she would mention, people used to laugh at us. Look at us, look. And when she has got an opportunity, she must mention, she's Dr. Tshifhiwa Kodisang. If you don't know, you know. But I know it's sort of fighting back. You get what I'm saying? And that psychologically also have an impact because you are not even living now. You are still living the struggles of the past. And that's one another thing. I told somebody to say, you know, it will be very hard for you to live now if you haven't embraced the person you were before, so that you can be comfortable with this new person you are. You get what I'm saying? You don't need to prove a point. I think psychologically also our master plan get eroded because we are not living our master plan, we are proving a point. And it also comes because of how we were treated and our views of life. So it's important we really acknowledge, you know, our journey, but also in this master plan, we acknowledge our challenges. And we appreciate those moments in order to embrace you are not going to be a new person. You must just embrace the reality. But you don't need to disown this person. You don't need to disown because this person, this young girl have been harmed and have been laughed at to say, you are so dark. So now she must put 3 or 4 layers of makeup. Because she maybe still thinks she will be loved at even now. And then she misses all the other opportunities that this dark-skinned person deserves. Maybe she does not even see the potential within that dark person. Maybe she is so caught up into the worth that people gave to the darkness and not really validating her worthiness with that dark skin and the potential and the journey that is impacted on this person. Thank you.